Welcome to the Kinetic Metrics podcast, where we explore how automotive manufacturers are navigating the evolving world of safety compliance, not just from a regulatory standpoint, but how it's affecting operations, design cycles, and strategic planning. Today, we are speaking with Jan Urbahn, and he is going to talk to us about what he's been working on and his new kind of startup adventure. So, thanks so much for taking the time to work with us today.
Thank you for having me on the show, Emily. Thank you.
So, to kick things off, I'd like to hear a bit more about what it is you've been doing and what you have kind of coming over the horizon in the next year or two.
So I've been spending a lot of time in the automotive industry. Was with BMW, where we initially met. During that time, I went to Lyft. I spent 3.5 years, almost 4 years at Canoe. So I changed gears a little bit. Right now, I'm at a stealth mode startup in San Francisco, and we are working on a innovative way for certification and homologation. And it's a answer from our point of view to the challenging trends that, I think everybody in the industry is observing. Um, and I think the dominant trends right now are that you have to shorten your vehicle development cycle a lot. We used to spend 3 to 5 years to develop a new vehicle. I think the expectation is to come down to a year or two. And at the same time, the compliance uh, requirements are just globally ramping up everywhere, and it's becoming increasingly challenging to be in compliance in the first place, and then stay in compliance because you in the past, even 10 years ago, we would develop a vehicle and bring it to market. So you homologate it once and then, you update a few things, but basically it's the same vehicle. And now you have updates every week, every day, sometimes multiple times per day. And you wanna, and there are examples where, OEMs didn't, complete the checklist and had to recall at the end of the day. And so I think it's a really interesting time because you have to become just better at you have to bring your A game every day. And so we are working on a solution to make this uh, to solve this conflict basically. And obviously, being in San Francisco, I think I can hint at that we are using AI technology to uh, you know help our customers with that.
It's almost becoming like who isn't using a little bit of AI at this point.
Yes, right, exactly. But then again, it's not it's one word, but you have to be very careful with what it is. And especially in the area of compliance, first of all, factual correctness is critical. We have all heard of AIs hallucinating. That is obviously something you just cannot allow in compliance. I mean, think about it. An OEM is going to develop a new model, so they are going to invest $2 billion into a new model, and you want to make sure you have the correct information. And then of course it has to be also presented in a way that it's helpful. So that and that is I think not an automatic just by using AI technology. So there is still a lot of engineering, software engineering going into this.
So, this is perfect topic then to get into one of my first core questions. So, from your vantage point, what would you
Mhm.
say are the most significant safety compliance trends or regulatory shifts that you're kind of
Mhm.
keeping an eye on right now?
So I'm reading the global newsletters every day, from regulatory authorities, publishing new stuff. Today they published EU7. I think one of the challenges is going to be, um, uh, especially for electric vehicles, that we as an auto industry have to, provide diagnostic mechanisms for the battery, and there will be in-use testing in Europe, in California, and in other markets. And so factors like aging of a battery, that has to be monitored throughout the entire use cycle of the battery. Speaking of batteries, obviously, at the end of life, recycling is a big issue that I'm observing. And They're progressively, I was just reading something yesterday. The timelines are going into 2036 and beyond. And it's really, I think, an important topic. Then obviously, cybersecurity is a huge issue, and especially, the European uh, Union has published rules, with Red Sea, for example, on how to keep your product secure. Um, then there's just the regular updates on a lot of you know let's say garden variety regulations that affect your vehicle. For example, the US is updating its 305 regulation to the A version, and so you also have to, now, the responsibility to publish an emergency response guide and these kind of things in the US. Um, so there are plenty of challenges, and that's just, the scratching the surface. So my observation is there are updates every day, and that affect your product. You might have to be in compliance and with respect to these new requirements in 6 months. It used to be 3 years out.
Yeah.
Now it's these ramp up times and are also shorter. And yeah, you certainly need a different approach in your deploy in your way how you approach this in your department at your OEM
So
office.
thinking about some of these battery trends, like what do you
Mhm.
think is going to be one of the biggest challenges you might face when you're thinking about maintaining compliance across a product line? Or like you said, with like maintaining that over the life of the vehicle.
So I think obviously you know um, everybody, first of all, from a customer perspective, everybody's looking for more range. I'm very impressed, if I may say this. I mean, I spent 20 years at BMW, so today they introduced the iX3, and they have 500 miles of range on that vehicle. It's very impressive. And obviously, there's a lot of work going into this, in the optimization of the battery management system, but also the chemistry, and of and obviously also into the drivetrain, the motors, and so on. So you have to optimize your vehicle everywhere, and then I'm sure during the compliance process, you have to take into account, well, you're working with new materials, new chemicals. REACH in Europe, for example, is being updated, at least on a monthly basis, if not weekly. And so all of these, so that's a chemical compliance, directive, and so you have to, basically, I'm sure they had a lot of work with certifying that vehicle, and but it's very nice vehicle. And so now the next step, of course, for a vehicle like that is, it has diagnostic functions. The government wants to know. It will certainly be in use tested in a couple of years at around 100,000 miles. And so yeah, that I think is the big challenge for EVs right now. The entire area of diagnostics and compliance at the end of life.
And then kind of dialing back, I know you
Mhm.
mentioned taking the development cycle from like 3 to 5 years down to 1 to 2. And I have a question around looking at like bottlenecks or particularly tricky areas of the safety compliance process. So is there anything you've seen that's kind of creating or like what are some of the current compliance processes that are demanding so much time? And what are like thoughts about, what are these key areas that maybe we can kind of cut down on to like limit that amount of time that is spent in the development process?
Um, so my observation is, you know, and this is just, personal experience um over more than 20 years, in automotive manufacturer offices. It takes a while to get on the same page. So you read a regulation, two people may have a different reading of that. And you just need to get on the same page, obviously, in terms of requirements management. And at the end of the day, you have a tool like maybe doors or something like that. You have to put a requirement in there, and you have to be clear about what is it you're going to develop. And um, you can spend days, weeks on that process, to come to clarity. And it, you know. That part of the process is a huge opportunity for acceleration. If you can accelerate your requirements management process, for example, because then the next step is go into the solution phase. And once you pick up the phone and you are calling your test lab and you're saying you know exactly what you need, it's easier for everybody to schedule the test, to review the tests. I think that's when the next step in terms of data analytics. Today, you have more clarity about what is actually on your hard drive. I mean, we used to have these SharePoint servers, for example, and PowerPoints and Excels, and you have to go through it. And then, the person who created that spreadsheet is on vacation. And I mean, we have all been there, right?
Yeah.
And so today, you have much more advanced tools to actually get clarity about what is it you have in terms of your testing data, and whether you have any gaps in terms of compliance that you still need to test. So you want to reduce just any surprises. You don't want any surprises in your process. And I think this is where modern technology is actually helping our clients.
So then looking ahead at the next year to year and a half, what do you think is a key area of like safety compliance that you anticipate is going to need to require more focus or attention?
So that's a good that's a good question. My observation is that, and especially in with respect to AI, a lot of companies are in a wait and see mode. And I would encourage everyone, uh, if to consider this is coming. Um, in 5 years, this will be the state of the art. And you have to get on board with the new technology. And it'll mean that you need to update your processes, but in the end, your products will show that you will have used those new technologies in your certification. And yeah, if you want to know more about it, please reach out to me. So I'm on LinkedIn, and or you probably have my phone number too. So
And so then to get into my last kind of, I always say this is like in your perfect world question. So
Mhm.
what do you think would be the best thing you would like to see happen in terms of safety compliance? Or maybe it could be a new regulation, maybe deregulating something. What's like one key thing you would like to see happen in the next year to year and a half that you think would help kind of alleviate some of these things that we've been talking about? And sort of again, this is perfect world, so obviously, the sky might be the limit, and it might be like this might not be possible. But like, what's something you'd like to see get put forward that would maybe help move us in the right direction?
That's, oh boy, I have a very long list of
Well, just a couple quick hits, then maybe.
um I think it would be in certain countries it's just, especially in developing countries, it's not easy to uh, get a complete overview of regulations, and but even in Europe, they have these regulations and then updates and amendments, and so I would wish that it would be, that governments would make an effort to communicate in an, easier, more structured way, the entirety of what you have to comply with. I think it would give everybody in the business more certainty about, what you have to meet, what is the requirement. So just that from the process side. I think in terms of technology, if I could if I could make a wish, I think overall we want to find a better balance in terms of, passive safety and active safety, avoiding the crash in the first place versus the effort that we have to do to mitigate the effects of a crash. And would like to see an even stronger shift overall towards crash avoidance and supporting, finding ways to support automation of driving. Of course, obviously, I think that's here in San Francisco. It's as normal as anything to, to see autonomous cars and on the road, and I think the rule makers can contribute to a faster rollout around the world.
Yeah, I need to get myself to one of those cities because I've yet to ride in an AV, and I would really like to experience it. So
It
I'm
is
very
really
jealous you
amazing.
have that at your fingertips, like on the daily. Don't
Well, I
have.
can only extend the invitation here to San Francisco, and then we can take a ride together.
There we go. Well, these were really incredibly valuable insights, Jan, and I thank you for being so candid. And I think this is really going to help us understand the landscape better and kind of create more conversations around all these compliance pain points that we have. So
Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
Emily. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.